You've heard that the outside world is a mirror. 4 teachers spent their lives proving it, and every one of them meant something different. One says the glass is fogged, one says it's a law, one says you're the one holding it, and one says there was never anyone standing in front of it at all. It's one of those lines that sounds deep and then evaporates. Reality is a mirror. Okay, a mirror of what, exactly? And put there by whom? Because when you actually ask the teachers who built their whole lives around this idea, they don't quite agree. And the place they disagree is the interesting part. So let's take the mirror apart. 4 views, in order, each one fixing what the last one couldn't explain. Stay to the end, because the 4th one quietly pulls the rug out from under the other 3. Start with the most human version of the idea. Don Miguel Ruiz, the Toltec teacher, opens the 4 agreements with a story he calls the Smoky mirror. His claim is almost strange when you first hear it. Matter is a mirror. Everything, he says, is a mirror that reflects light and makes images of that light, including every person you'll ever meet. But there's a catch. Between the mirrors, between you and everyone else, there's a fog, a smoke. And that smoke, Ruiz says, is the dream. The mirror is you. The smoke is everything you were told to believe before you could argue back. He calls how the smoke gets there domestication. You didn't choose your language. You didn't choose your religion, or your name, or most of what you believe about yourself. It was installed, rewarded when you complied, punished when you didn't. The same way, he says bluntly, you'd train an animal. So before you ever try to change what you see, understand what Ruiz is telling you. You're not looking at the world. You're looking at a fogged mirror. And the fog was handed to you. Think about how ordinary this is. A child says something true and honest, and gets laughed at. So they learn, don't say that. A child gets praised for being quiet and agreeable, so they decide, that's who I have to be. No single moment feels like domestication. But 1,000 of them, stacked up, become the fog. And by adulthood, you don't even see it as fog anymore. You call it your personality. You call it reality. That's the line that stops people. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. Not your fault. Not a moral failing. Just the water you were raised in. Which means the reflection you've been fighting your whole life may not even be yours. Ruiz tells you the mirror is fogged. But he doesn't tell you why there's a mirror in the first place. For that, go back to 1908 and a strange little book called the Kybalion. It claims to carry ancient Hermetic wisdom, and it lays out 7 laws it says run all of reality. We only need one of them tonight. The principle of correspondence, as above, so below. As below, so above. Every level of reality, they say, mirrors every other level. The pattern in the atom echoes the pattern in the galaxy, and the pattern in your mind echoes the structure of the whole. This isn't just poetry to them. They mean it as a working tool, a master key. If the same pattern runs through every level, then you can learn the invisible by studying the visible. You can't see the inside of your own mind directly, but you can see your life. And if correspondence holds, your life is the readout. The large, visible print of a text too small to read any other way. Here's why that matters. Ruiz made the mirror personal. Your fog, your dream. The Kybalion makes it structural. This isn't your mind playing a trick on you. It's the architecture of reality. Understanding your own mind, they say, is understanding the universe. They pair correspondence with a stranger claim they call mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Reality, in their picture, isn't made of dead matter with a little mind floating on top. It's the other way around. It's mind all the way down, and matter is just mind vibrating slowly. If that's true, then a mental universe reflecting mental states isn't mystical. It's mechanical. It's what a mind-made world does. And notice something the whole rest of this video hinges on. In the Kybalion's version, nobody is holding the mirror. The law reflects with their words, motiveless necessity. It applies to everyone and everything, unfailingly, at all times. Even the gods, they write, must bow to it. There's no operator. Think of gravity. It doesn't decide to pull the apple down, and it doesn't care whose apple it is. Correspondence, they'd say, is exactly like that. The mirror just is. So far, no one's to blame for the reflection. Ruiz says it's fogged. The Kybalion says it's law. Then Neville Goddard walks in and says something far more dangerous. You are holding the mirror, and every face in it is yours. Goddard's teaching, carried today by writers like Elmer Locker, has a name for this. They call it, you pushed out. The whole outer world, every person, every circumstance, is your own consciousness, pushed out into visible form. Take it at full strength, because Goddard meant it at full strength. Nothing, he says, exists outside of you. The people around you are mirrors of the assumptions you hold about them. Nations, as well as people, are only what you believe them to be, which flips the whole thing around. You stop being a reflector of life, Goddard says, and become its effector. You don't fix a difficult person by arguing with them. You change what you've assumed about them, and, he claims, they're powerless to resist it because they were rooted in you all along. His practical tool is revision. Each night, you replay the day's ugliest moments and rewrite them, in imagination, the way you wish they'd gone, until the new version feels as real as the old one. Make it concrete. Say there's someone at work who's always cold to you, short, dismissive, a little contemptuous. The normal move is to build a case against them. Collect the evidence, tell your friends, harden the story. Goddard says you've got it backwards. That coldness is a sure sign, he says, that your own assumption about them is wanting. You've been silently rehearsing them as an enemy, and they've been faithfully playing the part you cast. So you revise. Not by confronting them, by quietly assuming and feeling that this person is already warm toward you. You rehearse it until it feels true. And Goddard's claim, stated plainly, is that the world will rearrange itself to match. It sounds impossible. Hold that reaction, because in about 2 minutes, someone is going to tell you it is. Now I have to stop, because this is exactly where this teaching turns poisonous in the wrong hands. You've heard the cruel version. You attracted this. It's your fault. Your illness, your loss, the thing done to you. You made it. Let me be clear. That is not what this says, and it never had to. Working with a reflection is something you can do now, in the present. It is not a verdict on your past. Some of what's in that mirror was put there by other people, by the domestication Ruiz described, by things that were never yours to choose. Reading the glass today doesn't mean you painted it. And here's the part people miss. Goddard's own practice of revision isn't about blame at all. He said it awakens continual forgiveness, because once you see it this way, there's no one left to condemn, only a state of consciousness to be redeemed. The mirror, used right, doesn't accuse you, it releases you. So if some part of you tensed up during that Goddard section, if a voice said so, my whole life is my fault, I want you to set that down. That voice isn't the teaching, it's the fog Ruiz was talking about, dressed up in spiritual language. Here's the cleaner version. You can pick up the mirror today and start working with it. That is a completely different thing from being blamed for everything you've ever seen in it. One is a tool in your hands right now. The other is a punishment, and no teacher in this video is handing you one. So if the mirror is real, and it isn't here to blame you, can you actually read it? Gregg Braden says yes, and he gives you the most practical tool in this whole conversation. But before the tool, one warning that makes the rest safe to use. Braden calls it the dark night of the soul. Sometimes life reflects your single greatest fear straight back at you, often right when everything finally seemed fine. That's not punishment. It's not a sign you failed. It's the mirror turned up to full brightness, so a fear you could never face finally gets faced. People survive it and come out unshakable. Hold on to that as we go. With that in hand, here are his 5 ancient mirrors of relationship. 5 different things a relationship can be showing you about yourself. The first is the mirror of the moment. Your beliefs, reflected back in real time by how people treat you. The second is what you judge in the moment. That trait in someone that drives you up the wall? Braden says the judgment is the glue holding you to it. Here's how that second one actually shows up. Say you can't stand someone who's arrogant, loud, always performing, always needing to be the center. Braden's uncomfortable suggestion is to ask, where have I quietly forbidden myself that? Often the thing that enrages us in someone else is a thing we were domesticated out of, a confidence we were punished for, now walking around freely in somebody else. The irritation is information. It's the mirror pointing at a door you closed a long time ago. The third is subtler. The people you feel powerfully, irresistibly drawn to. Braden says you're seeing a piece of yourself that's gone to sleep. The magnetism is you, wanting you back. The fourth is the dark night we just named, the mirror of your deepest fear. And the fifth, the rarest, is the mirror of your greatest compassion. The moment you meet someone at their worst, and something in you chooses grace anyway. That one, Braden says, is a stepping stone to mastery. Notice what Braden gives you that Goddard didn't. Goddard hands you the power to change the reflection. Braden hands you the ability to read it first, to ask, before you change anything, which of these five it's showing me. That's not blame, that's literacy, and that order matters more than it sounds. Most people meet a painful reflection and immediately either fight it or blame themselves for it. Braden offers a third move, pause, and simply ask what it is. Is this the mirror of the moment? Of something I've judged? Of a piece of me I gave away? Just naming which mirror you're looking into takes most of the sting out, because a reflection you understand stops feeling like an attack and starts feeling like a message. So now you have a fogged mirror, a cosmic law, the power to change the reflection, and a way to read it. Every one of those assumes the same thing, that someone is standing in front of the glass. And then Nisargadatta Maharaj asks the question that dissolves all four. Who exactly is looking? Nisargadatta was an Indian sage who ran a cigarette stall in Mumbai and taught non-duality to anyone who came. And he draws a line the others don't. The world, he says, appears in consciousness. It is not caused by your assumptions. Everything, he says, is uncaused. It happens by itself. Realize that you are not the mover, only the observer, and you will be at peace. There's no operator to become. There's nothing to push out. He has an image for it. The world is a picture on a cinema screen, made of light. You keep thinking you're a character in the film, but you're not the pictures. You're the screen, clear, empty, and never once touched by anything that plays across it. So where Goddard says change the reflection, Nisargadatta says there's nothing to change at all. It is not the universe that needs improving, only your way of looking. See the dream as a dream, and you've done the only thing that ever needed doing. And you already know this feeling, even if you've never named it. Think of the last time you were completely lost in a film, heart pounding, actually afraid, and then the credits roll, and you remember, none of that touched the screen. The screen held the murder and the wedding and the war with the exact same stillness. Nisargadatta is saying you are that, not the story that scared you tonight, the awareness it played across, which nothing has ever managed to scratch. So who's right? Here's the thing. They all are, and that's not a cop-out. Look at what they agree on. Every single one says the outer reflects the inner. Ruiz, the Kybalion, Goddard, Braden, Nisargadatta, total agreement on the structure. The mirror is real. They split on one question only. Agency. Is the reflection something you're making, or something you're finally seeing? And that split isn't a flaw in the teaching. It's a map of where you are. Because here's what I've come to think. These aren't four rival answers you have to pick between. They're four positions on one road, and you've probably stood on all of them. When you need something in your life to change, Goddard and Braden are the working tools. Read the mirror, then revise it. But when you've done all of that, when you've pushed and revised and read every reflection and you're still exhausted, that's not the moment to try harder. That's the moment Nisargadatta was talking about, when the only thing left to put down is the one holding the mirror at all. And the other two? They're holding the whole thing up from underneath. The Kybalion is why both of those can be true at once. Because if the mirror is impersonal law, it runs whether you operate it or simply watch it. And Ruiz is why none of this was obvious to begin with. The fog. The reason you spent years arguing with a reflection instead of noticing it was one. So maybe the mirror was never the problem. Maybe the only real question is the one all four of them left you holding. Are you making this reflection, or are you finally, quietly, seeing it? You don't have to answer today. You just have to stop trying to clean the glass from the wrong side. So I'll leave the argument with you. When you look at your own life right now, does it feel more like a reflection you're making, or one you're seeing? Tell me below. I read them. And if this way of holding 4 teachers at once is the kind of thing you want more of, there's a video where we do exactly this with the Kybalion and the 4 agreements. 2 texts, 1 map of the mind. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you'd like us to cover next. And check out our website, thedeepsynthesis.com, where we go deeper on every topic, plus a free convergence map waiting for you.